In the year 1996, Mercedes started getting the E-Class in India via the CKD route, which is completely knocked down, as in parts were sourced from Europe and assembled in India. Since then, they have sold close to 50,000 cars, which is a huge number considering that it's not priced in the lower end of the spectrum and it's a luxury car. Not just that, 1 out of 3 Mercedes on our roads is an E-Class. Oh God, what could be the reason behind this?
Hey kid, I give you the car. Go find out yourself.
The Mercedes-Benz E-Class was always a testimony to the statement that you have arrived. The legacy continues in the facelift 2 with the massive length of over 5 meters. In terms of dimensions, not too much has been changed except for an increase in 12mm in length and 10mm in height, and it's still exclusively available in the long wheelbase version only. The 2021 edition sees some cosmetic tweaks as well as some tech additions and creature comforts. Actually waiting to show you guys the beautiful 2-liter power mill of this car, but before that we need to open the bonnet, and it's a slightly tricky situation here because the bonnet lever is tucked in deep inside. Made it finally. This is it, the workhorse that pumps out 192 bhp and 400 Nm of torque. The lineup consists of 2 diesel engines and 1 petrol engine. The E220D gets a new trapezoidal front grille and a new power dome hood to make the car look a bit more sporty. The headlights have also been reworked and now get a single LED DRL strip along with the new projector headlamps. The bumper on the front and rear are also redesigned. New E-Class prints on 17 inches of rubber from Pirelli. The rear is differentiated with sleek LED tail lamps which have a horizontal form splitting into 2. Those tail lamps are also adaptive and adjust the intensity based on the ambient lighting conditions. Although the E-Class long wheelbase especially caters to the chauffeur-driven segment, people who love to be chauffeur around, but it's very important that the boot space is more than adequate. It will help a lot in the long distance traveling or in particular airport transfers or your business trips. Let's check out the boot space of this car. So you can of course open the boot using the key fob here. As you can see, it's pretty flat here, which also means that you lose out on some space. For comparison, the A6 gets slightly more better space management here, but this feels like it's a big cuboid. And here you get the spare wheel. Unfortunately, it's the one size down. It's a space saver, and there's not a full-fledged spare wheel. This is a temporary spare wheel which you can travel up to, like say 70 to 80 km per hour, but not beyond that. So the E-Class is not priced in the lower band of the pricing spectrum. It's priced fairly well, which means that there are some features which it still lacks in. For example, you don't get the electric closing boot lid here, which I think would have added a lot of luxury or premium coefficient. You'll have to do it the old school way. The German car maker was always known to craft one of the best interiors. Once you step inside, you can expect the most luxurious and plush treatment. The fit and finish, material choice and wood trim inserts are all top notch and feel proper luxury. The dashboard layout is the same as before, but the center console and toggle switches have been redesigned. So now the most evident change inside the all-new 2021 E-Class is this steering wheel, which is very beautifully crafted. It's very light beige, or you would rather call it as slightly close to white. It's going to be difficult to maintain, that's for sure, especially in our conditions. But then it looks very very premium and classy, and gels with the overall theme of the car. And apart from that, you do have buttons on both the ends, and this button controls the 12.3 inch screen here, and these buttons control the 12.3 inch screen here. Although the buttons are very nice, they are very very responsive to touch, but one problem that I found was you have this button here that is used to navigate this screen, and apparently you're supposed to use a thumb, but it's not very easy to use a thumb, and probably 3 out of 10 times it doesn't just work, and it works better with your say index finger or something. And the same goes here also when you're trying to change the different instrument cluster patterns or whatever it is. or you're trying to do anything from this side of the instrument cluster, you would have to slightly struggle a bit, and this is a concern when you're driving the car on highway at good speeds, and you'll have to actually put in some effort to do whatever you want here. The two 12.3-inch screens are the center of attention. They now come with the latest MBUX software that gets the Hey Mercedes digital assistant, remote functions for Alexa and Google Home, and an integrated SIM with connected tech that allows you to track the vehicle, set a geofence, get service alerts, etc. All that apart from Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, of course. The infotainment is mated to 590 watts Burmester audio unit which sounds stunning, no matter which seat you are seated in. Access couple of things from the right side. 12.3-inch touchscreen system. Basically it's the navigation, trip, radio, media, etc. But I would like to show you the styling options that are there for the tachometer and the speedometer. More importantly, there are 5 styling options here, but a lot of them are going to prefer the sport and the progressive display. The front seats are wide and accommodating as before, but don't get a massaging function, which would have been great for those occasional situations when you decide to hop onto the driver's seat. But there's an energizing seat kinetics function which will make tiny changes to the inclination of the seat cushions and the backrest, which is a great feature for those putting in long hours behind the wheel. One thing that we really got to appreciate here is Mercedes has some old school dedicated buttons here for basic functions like AC, the climate control, blower, speed, etc. And you have cup holders here. It ensures that the liquid in the cup doesn't spill, and you have a Type C port here. One thing that I found highly in ergonomical, or whatever you want to call it, is the car is filled with Type C ports. For example, if you have a OnePlus charger to charge your phone, you won't be able to do it because that's a USB to Type C. Only Type C to Type C works here in that case, and the car is literally filled with those ports, and that's something that Musk should have taken care of. And you have the trackpad here. Trackpad is also used to control the settings on the screen here. So you have dedicated buttons here for various driving modes, and a couple of park assist features, and dedicated volume control, which will be pretty helpful too. You bet we can't conclude the interior's laundry list without talking of the panoramic sunroof. So this is the place where you want to be in the Mercedes-Benz E-Class long wheelbase, especially because the legroom is more than enough. There's a lot of legroom, and knee room is infinite. As you can see here, even for 12 passengers, the knee room is more than adequate. There'll be absolutely no complaints. You can actually fold your legs and sit like this, and you can just travel all the way along. And addressing the under thigh support of the seat, the under thigh support is good, and headroom is more than adequate, no problem on that. And you have the rear AC vents here with individual climate control. Unfortunately, the AC is not very effective in the car, especially in the rear. It's fine at higher blower speed, but when you move on to the higher blower speed, the noise levels are slightly more. And when for the rear passengers, we really wish the AC could have been slightly more effective, because this car is oriented towards people who are chauffeur driven and who are sitting in the rear. Another thing that I want to point out is for the rear passengers, there's just one cup holder here, and it's not very easily accessible too. I would have preferred it if it was engraved in the armrest here, so that's going to be a bit of inconvenience for a lot of passengers. I'm talking about the rear space. There's ample space for 2 of them. So once you fold this armrest, the third person here might be able to sit here, but the problem is the transmission tunnel is one of the highest we've ever seen. It's way too high, and it's going to be inconvenient for the third passenger here. So that's why the rear of this car is suited best for 2. So you have a couple of USB Type-C chargers here. There's wireless charging pad here, and there's a small disclaimer here. Normally in the car, even in the 220D, you do get a tablet where you can control a lot of things like the infotainment system, the navigation, the ambient color, and a lot of things. But unfortunately, this particular car that came to us for the review, did not have it for XYZ reasons. But yes, you do get an individual tab here, which is going to be filled with a lot of customization options. You can operate the rear sunblind from here. So this is a switch for that. You can put it on, put it off. And in fact, not just that, you can also operate the sunroof. There's a dedicated button here to open the sunroof, which is super cool. One of the rarest thing that we have seen in any car till date. And apart from that, you do have an option to electrically adjust the sun blinds for your seat. More importantly, a feature which is not there in the front seats but which is there in the rear seat is the memory function. We really wish that even the front seats had the memory function, but that's not the case. Only the rear seats get the memory function. But the best part about the entire rear experience, apart from the super lavish legroom and the headroom, is the rear seat is reclinable up to 37 degrees. You can recline it all the way along. You have super comfortable pillows here, and this is going to give you a very, very close experience to a business class. We all know that the E-Class long wheelbase, especially the 220D, which is a 4-cylinder diesel version, is inclined for someone who loves to be chauffeur driven, someone who loves the paparazzi of the rear seat comfort. But that doesn't mean that he's not going to drive the car at all. He's going to drive sometime or the other. So let's find out how does the car drive. First things first, you have the gear lever here, which is slightly unconventional, but it's good. There's no problem in that at all. And we're now slotting into the drive mode from parking. And here we go. So now, as coming to this place, which is around 100 kilometers from Bangalore, the first thing that I realized is it's not the car that's going to push you back to the seat and you'll be like, wow, what a pickup. No, it's not that. There is the sibling of this car, which is the E350D, which does a much better job, which is a 6-cylinder engine which has better power and torque numbers. There are two things that I really love when it comes to drivability of this car, or rather the E-Class in general. The first thing is the gear shift. It's a 9-speed gearbox and the shifts are fantastic. Trust me on that. There is absolutely, or rather I would say there's very, very, very negligible lag, and it's much better than the one in Audi. Yes, the gear shifts are amazing. The gear shifts, in the different driving modes, you don't feel that. Although I felt that, the sport mode, the gear shifts were unnecessarily longer than the comfort mode, which is my personal choice in this car. But yes, overall a good 9 on 10 on the gear shifts. And talking about the second best part, it is the steering feedback. The steering feedback offered by this car at high speeds, especially once we reach the 10 mark, that's 100, 110 kmph, it's fantastic. The steering weighs up so well that it can give some serious competition to the 5 series. Yeah, I know what I'm talking, but yes, the steering feedback is that damn good. It's not that it's good only in the individual or the sport mode, but it's good in the eco mode as well. That's the best part. The E220D does not get air suspension, which is found in its sportiest sibling, the 350D AMG. So this is a standard setup. It definitely offers a smooth and planned ride on good surfaces, and it does iron out speed breakers as well. On some bad patches of the road though, you can feel slight bumps in the cabin, but it's not intruding enough to disrupt the overall pleasant ride experience. The setup is on smoother side and it offers a beautiful ride on highways or nice city roads. The E-Class excels at making sure all occupants feel comfortable and relaxed at all times. At higher speeds, the Merc changes direction with grace and it's actually enjoyable to drive, as long as you have the car in right driving mode according to the tarmac. And talking about the modes, there are a couple of driving modes. So you have a switch here, or I would rather say this is a rotary knob here, where you can check out the different driving modes. You have Deco to start off with. Around 60% of the time when I was driving to this place, I used the Eco mode, and it's good. It doesn't feel like a typical Eco mode where it's too conservative or something. Not at all. The Eco mode is good. You can easily use it for 80 to 90% of your driving conditions. In fact, talking about Eco, it returned, according to the MID, it returned a mileage of 9.4 km per liter to 9.7 on the highway, which is fair enough for a car of this size. No complaints on that. Of course, it's not that someone is going to be very concerned about mileage, but I just thought I'll share what was there in the MID. And talking about the other driving modes, it's comfort mode. Comfort mode is my personal pick because it's a right balance between Eco mode and the sport mode. And talking of the sport mode is good, but the thing is, the steering is slightly more responsive, the throttle is nice, there's a nice tone coming from the engine exhaust, everything is good, but just felt that the gear shifts are not the most optimum in sport mode. The difference in these riding modes is noticeable in an instant, and it's surprising how this long wheelbase car can tackle curves like a gulp of water. And talking about the braking, so it's a controlled environment here, and we'll just take the brake. Yes, the brakes are good, or rather close to being very good, but they are not perfect. There's some marginal, very less marginal room for improvement in the brakes department. Otherwise, it's fine. And yes, enthusiasts are going to rejoice of the fact that you get paddle shifters here. So yes, the paddle shifters are small, but they are good. It's another icing on the cake that you get paddle shifters for a car which is focused towards the rear seat. Good job there. Unlike the Audi A6 which we drove recently, which is the jack of all and master of none, the Mercedes-Benz E-Class long wheelbase is not like that. It has its own strengths and weaknesses. Let's address a couple of weaknesses first. This particular model, the E220D, feels slightly underpowered when you're pushing it hard. But then there's a solution which can be overshadowed. That is, you can opt for its elder sibling, which is slightly priced by say 20-25%, but then you get a lot of horses more. You get 2 extra cylinders, which is a straight 6, and a couple of other features like dedicated memory seats for the front seats and a host of other features. But then there are a couple of things that Mercedes should have addressed here. For example, when you're paying a decent amount of money, because this is on the higher end of the spectrum of the price bracket, you do expect some features like say a powered tailgate or a memory seat for the driver. So those things are missing, which dissolves the entire premiumness or the luxury coefficient here. Keeping all strengths aside, the biggest strength of this particular car, the trump card for the E-Class long wheelbase, is the rear seat comfort. It's supremely comfortable, it's magical. If there's someone who is going to walk into the showroom to buy a comfortable car in this price bracket, there is absolutely no second thought that he's going to fall for this German beauty. The idea of introducing the E-Class in long wheelbase avatar was undoubtedly a trump card. It always screamed value, and suddenly you now have a car that's almost the size of an S-Class, but at almost half the price. With the launch of the 2021 S-Class, make that fraction of the price. Compared to the competition, the BMW 5 Series might appeal to a slightly younger audience, and the Audi A6 might be relatively feature-laden. But the Mercedes-Benz E-Class is the perfect package and the most enticing mid-sized luxury sedan in the world. It sets the benchmark in terms of interior comfort, quality, and luxury. That's why, even though the world is currently falling prey to the SUV buzz and fanfare, the E-Class is still selling in great numbers. The new E-Class offers backseat luxury, ample long wheelbase space, a variety of comfort features, and the latest generation of telematics. With the great combination of ultra-modern design and exciting driving dynamics, the new E-Class is confident that it will once again significantly raise the benchmark for the luxury sedan segment and retain its throne of segment leadership. If you guys like the video, if this video made any sense to you, do not forget to subscribe to our channel and follow us on Instagram for all the automotive updates in India. Take care, drive safe, and more importantly, with all precautions, stay healthy.